the 1950s, de jure segregation was no longer able to happen in the United States. However, de facto segregation was still happening in many states, um, between Mexicans, African Americans, Chinese. Those were all happening still in different states. So de jure is by law, de facto is by society. Basically, a lot of our Mexican Americans during this time, and particularly in California, Denver, Los Angeles, Texas, because they were getting what we consider a better education. They were able to complete high school, and after high school, some would enter the workforce, some would actually go on to college and enter after that. They were able to see that their community needed to be improved, and along with their community, also their education. So what they decided to do is they started to gather in masses, they started to gather in groups and create gatherings and making sure that they did whatever they could to go ahead and improve basically society for themselves, and not just Mexicans but also African Americans. So in this picture here, they are getting together because the teacher was saying that students of Mexican race were basically bad and stupid, and they were stupid because their parents were stupid, and vice, and it keeps going. So there we see the first part of the masses getting together to stand up, which eventually has a big impact for the Chicano movement, which happened during this time. During this time, we actually also see that a lot of the Mexican Americans are starting to see society change, and within society, there's relocation, or the cities in which they live in are no longer just Mexican American. Now they're starting to kind of integrate with other races. So they're also trying to kind of see what they identify with. So they're trying to understand their culture, they're trying to understand themselves. There's more of an uprising in terms of trying to still keep roots, cultural roots. So they start actually advocating for some of that in colleges, in high school. Um, with with that comes la raza, which is what they first would kind of contain to themselves or call themselves. Eventually, from that, after many meetings of different areas, they would go ahead and start the word Chicano, and eventually it would, catch on, and it would become the name of what this movement was. With that, though, they had walkouts, and not just gatherings, but walkouts. Walkouts for specific reasons, to show that they weren't going to stand by and let these injustices of their education or even society around them, that they were going to be okay with that. They started showing within their masses that they could support each other, and they started also including African Americans and other races, not just Mexican Americans. They started to come up with signs. They started coming together like a militant. So that's where the Chicanos, and you also see here the brown berets, they started organizing themselves in a fashion where they were able to stand together and show that they were in this together. So a lot of that had to do with our reform and what reform they were looking for. By standing up together, they were able to change quite a bit of different things within their communities. The youth in this movement actually showed the adults very much what they could do, what they were capable of in organizing themselves into groups, um, along all the United States. So the adults starting to recognize that the youth were asking for more, and not just because they wanted more, but because it was something that they were entitled to in terms of a better education, a better life. They were here starting off with the American dream, but it was more than just an American dream. It was being a Mexican American born that wanted the same life as any other person here in the United States. Not just parents also being involved with school, but also being involved in their own sets of lives and what their society issues were as well.